Welcome to the United States Biathlon Officials course, Level 1 for 2023. We'll be following the IBU format based off the 2022-2023 season rules. I'm your instructor. My name is Sean Robeson. I'm an IBU International Referee, number 1148. I've got over 25 years being involved in biathlon as an athlete, coach, organizer, and official. The course objectives. First of all, to enhance your knowledge and experience as a biathlon official and to share with you any new rules that have come up since the last publishing of the IBU guidelines. They usually publish them either once a year in the fall or every other year, depending on the technical committee's decisions on when they meet and what they decide on what needs to be changed. The second course objective is to improve the quality and safety in hosting biathlon competitions for your region or at your local club. Third, meet other interested individuals in the sport of biathlon. Build those relationships with people that are enthused about this sport and that want to improve it and help make it happen for those athletes that are participating. And fourth, but not final, is to have fun. Okay, the big three in biathlon officiating. I can't overemphasize these enough. The first one is safe. We want to make sure the events are safe for participants, volunteers, officials, and spectators. That is our number one priority. Safety is such a huge issue where we are dealing with firearms. If there were to ever be an incident anywhere in the U.S., it could very well shut down biathlon across the states and potentially across the globe if somebody were to be seriously injured or potentially a fatal injury. So we need to make sure safe is our number one guideline no matter what we do. Now, the second thing we need to focus on is being fair. We need to be fair to all of our participants. We need to make sure that they are all have the most level playing field they possibly can. And finally, we want to make it fun. If it's not fun, nobody's going to come do this. So no matter what situation you find yourself in, no matter what's going on, as long as you follow safe, fair, fun in that order, that's your guidelines to making a decision or to enforce a rule. We'll go into a little bit more in a few scenarios and a few things as we get farther into this training. Okay, course prerequisites. Everybody that is an official that deals with kids needs to complete, that's sanctioned by the USBA, needs to complete SafeSport and AthleteSafety.org. You got to get those done. They don't cost anything. They're tied in with your USBA membership. USBA pays for them, but they need to be done. SafeSport is put on by the United States Olympic Committee. It is some safety education for injury prevention, concussion education, making sure the athletes themselves are ready to play. Doesn't apply a lot to volunteers, but it does a little bit as we have a factor in safety as far as that particular way. The other one is misconduct avoidance. There's emotional, there's physical, and there's sexual misconduct. This all came about due to the issue with USA Gymnastics. So this is a required course, this safe sport, for all officials to have and to stay current. Okay, now we got a little bit of that out of the way. The level 1 course outline, we're going to do an introduction to this class, the participants, and biathlon. Now, since this is a virtual course that you're just looking on, we're not going to be able to introduce ourselves. You all know my background. If a bunch of you are doing this as a group, I encourage you to pause this, talk amongst yourselves a little bit, kind of introduce yourself, make sure everybody's familiar with who you are. And then we'll be going over the types and classes of competition. Okay, first lesson, Intro to Biathlon for Level 1. We're going to go over the IBU, USBA officials programs, what IBU and USBA are, overview and a history of biathlon, governing and related organizations, and finally biathlon safety. Okay, USBA official structure. Under the USBA, there's a level 1 that y'all are going through. This is your basic first introduction to officiating and helping put on a biathlon competition. This is usually designed for somebody that's new to biathlon, doesn't quite understand it, have a little bit of knowledge, but not too much. Level 2, this is the next level up. This is you'll work on competitive experience. When we USBA recommends 1 to 4 years of experience. A lot of the times we'll teach level 1 and 2 together just because most of the audience at that point has already been parents that have been involved for a while or volunteers that have been doing it for a bit. So we usually combine these. For this particular event, we're separating them out. Now, when it comes to the National IR, USBA, United States Biathlon Association, our governing organization for the United States, is working on getting these national IRs. They want some high experience, 5+ years, and then a national level TD, which the TD stands for Technical Delegate, IR stands for International Referee. Very high level of experience, organizer appointed by USBA. The National IR and the National TD are actually governed, and they are courses are proctored and examined by the International Biathlon Union. So after you've had your level 2 for a while, worked as one of the major chiefs, which we'll go over those positions here in a little bit, after about 5 years, give or take, you can petition USBA to take the IR exam. And then after a few more years of that, if there are the USBA chooses, they can set you up and nominate you to take the TD license exam. Okay, first and foremost, what is biathlon? Everybody, unless you're familiar with it, doesn't have any idea. You'll get a lot of questions like, oh, is that running and swimming, or is that swimming and biking, or biking and running, or what part of the triathlon are you only doing 2 events? No, biathlon is skiing and shooting, or a couple other variations that we'll go over. But that is the big thing. If you don't know what it is, that's what it is. What we're focused on specifically for the upcoming events is cross-country skiing and shooting. Okay, the official definition is biathlon is an Olympic winter sport which combines competitive, free technique, cross-country skiing, and small bore rifle marksmanship. Now, if you're taking the level 2 course, that's a definition you should probably remember. And at any time, if you feel like you need to pause this presentation or write down some notes, please feel free to do so. But what this means is we are combining free technique cross-country skiing, which means skate or classic skiing is allowed. You can do either or. 99% of everybody does skate because it's faster, a little bit more efficient, but every once in a while you will see a few competitors show up and do classic. And then small bore rifle marksmanship. Now, the national governing body is the United States Biathlon Association. Currently, Jack Gerhardt is our interim president. Our previous president, Max Cobb, was selected to become the Secretary General for the International Biathlon Union, IBU. So he took that post, has moved to Austria, and Jack Gerhardt has been named the interim, and we are anticipating that the board of directors for USBA will name a new president sometime in 2023. Not sure who or when, but we can anticipate a change in that. Okay, the International Biathlon Union was founded in 1993. They govern the worldwide sport of biathlon. The USBA follows their guidelines and rules, and we have to follow their rules to compete on the IBU World Cup, and they are the ones that provide the sanctioning and the governing for the Olympics for biathlon. They are an international federation when it comes to the International Olympic Committee to look at, and there is their website, www.biathlonworld.com. A lot of great information there. They've got an app out there that if you want to follow racing and different things, absolutely really a good app. Encourage you to look at it. Now, the IBU, International Biathlon Union, is the world governing body for biathlon. There are 56 member nations. The International Congress is held every 2 years. The office and the Secretary General are based in Salzburg, Austria. Now, the executive board is elected, the president and 8 vice president. Current Max Cobb is actually not the executive board member. I missed this on my update. He is the Secretary General as of 2022, the fall of 2022. Now, the technical committee consists of 11 members that are elected. Currently, one of the United States technical delegates, Sarah Studebaker Hall, who is also the director of operations for United States Biathlon, sits on that technical committee. They are the ones that review the rules, go through them, make and recommend changes and different things to the specifications for the competition and the rules and the guide that we'll be going over a little bit here. And as you get into level 2, you really delve into those rule books. Now, there's appointed committees. There's development, medical, legal, information, athletes, and marketing committee. Claire Egan sits on one of those. And then IBU president is not Ollie Dahlin. It is actually Max Cobb. So like I said, I'll get that adjusted for the next presentation. Now, IBU International Referee. This is your first step on the IBU level. After you've completed your USBA level 1 and 2, got about 5 years of experience, worked on a few international competitions like the IBU Cup when it comes to Lake Placid in 2026, or the IBU World Cup when it comes to Soldier Hollow in 2024. Different things like this will help prepare you to take this exam. An IBU International Referee functions as a technical representative of the IBU at an event in their area of responsibility and under the direction of the TD, the technical delegate. So that IR, when they come out, there will be an IR for range, there'll be an IR for stadium, an IR for course, and an IR for equipment control, as well as the TD. They're over those areas. They're to ensure that everything's happening according to what the IBU rules are, and for television, for those that are televised events. They are there not to shut the event down, but to assist the different chiefs in those areas to make sure the event happens in the way that meets IBU standards. The IBU Technical Delegate, TD, ensures that the event is conducted in accordance with the IBU rules and regulations. He oversees it all. He works directly with the chief of competition, and if there's a race director who's there for the TV, as well as the IRs and the other chiefs, to make sure the event happens to IBU standards and to just make it safe, fair, and fun. Okay, forms of biathlon that are governed. Summer biathlon. This can be running and shooting. It can be roller skiing and shooting. Mountain bike biathlon. You ride your mountain bike, come in, shoot your targets, go out, ride again, following the same format, but you'll be on a mountain bike instead of skis. There's also snowshoe biathlon instead of skiing, archery biathlon, skiing, coming in, shooting a bow. Could also be done off a mountain bike, could also be done with running or off roller skis, and parabiathlon. Now, parabiathlon's a little bit different. That is not necessarily governed by IBU, but we'll get into that here in just a second. Okay, Paralympic biathlon. There are 3 main categories: standing, sitting, and the blind visually impaired. Now, the blind visually impaired are skiing with a guide. They shoot with an audio system to where they actually can hear a tone, and it changes based off where the gun is pointing, and then they can pull the trigger to make sure they hit the right target, but it's all done with sound. Mobility, disability, different categories, and then there's prone shooting for those that are sitting or standing with an air rifle at 10 meters. They shoot that. Several ranges. Casper is set up for that. Soldier Hollow is getting set up for that. Several ranges are set up almost all the time to be able to support, and West Yellowstone also is set up for that. Set up for the parabiathlon. Okay, Paralympic biathlon is governed by the International Paralympic Committee. They follow some of the general guidelines of the IBU, but they are governed by the International Paralympic Committee rather than IBU. Okay, biathlon history. The earliest record was a cave drawing discovered in Norway over 4,000 years old. It kind of showed hunters on skis chasing down game. Now, development, it was hunting first and then warfare. First known competition was in 1767 on the Swedish-Norwegian border. It's an Olympic sport. In 1924 until 1948, it was a demo sport. Didn't count for medals, but everybody watched it. It was called the Military Patrol. After that, the Military Patrol was pulled out of the Olympics, but it is still practiced and competed on by the National Guard Biathlon in the United States, as well as in CISM, the Council on International Sports Military, that has a competition every couple of years that they will get together, and they will also have the patrol race with biathlon. You ski as a team, individual shooting with a patrol leader and a marksman shooting at biathlon targets, but on the direction of the patrol leader while the others wait. But the idea behind it is you ski as a team. It's very military centric. It's actually one of my favorite. It's actually my favorite race. I love that one. You kind of get some teamwork, camaraderie. Yeah, relay does that, but the patrol does a little bit better because you're all skiing together. And the other thing about that one is if the marksman, whoever's shooting out of the three shooters at the time, one out of three at a time, if they miss a target, the whole team has to ski a penalty loop. So I kind of really like that one. Anyway, the first full medal sport in 1960 was at Squaw Valley, California. It was the only individual competition. It was a 20K race with large bore rifles, not like the 22 we use now. And that's also something, and I've got a spelling error right there. You need to pay attention to that if you're doing the level 2. That first full medal sport in 1960 at Squaw Valley is a piece of information to probably remember. Now, the relay was added in 1968. In 1980, during the Lake Placid Olympics, they changed to small bore, added the 10K, and that's the first time they were shooting metal targets. That's another thing to potentially remember if you're doing the level 2 about Lake Placid. Okay, in 1992, the Olympics in France, women were added to the Olympic program for the first time. In 2002, the Olympics in Salt Lake added the pursuit competition. There's another piece of information. In 2006, the Olympics in Italy added the mass start. And then in 2014, in Sochi, Russia, the mixed relay was added to the Olympic program. Okay, biathlon history. USA elite competitions. We held the Olympic Winter Games in 1960 at Squaw Valley, 1980 at Lake Placid, and 2002 at Salt Lake City. World Championships were held in Lake Placid in 1973 and 1987. Junior World Champions were held in 73 at Lake Placid. 2006, 2014 were held at Presque Isle, Maine, and 2022 at Soldier Hollow. Lake Placid also held the FISU World University Games on their new facility in January of 2023. Okay, our changes in biathlon. The picture there on the far left is showing what it looked like originally. Somebody a little bit older using the rifle, shooting down the range. There's the old pull targets. Most of what we use now are electronic on the World Cup IBU level. At the local citizen races, you're going to see still the pull targets. They work, they function, depending on the brand. Some of the ones that they use on the IBU Cup function in a similar manner, just a little bit different. And then there's the changes in the rifle. This is actually one of the Eber stock rifles that were used by the U.S. team in 2010 in Vancouver. A little bit different than the older style, a little bit more modern design, and they're continuing to modernize them. There's different models out there. Lost Nation makes one, very modular, made out of printed materials, carbon fiber, metal, and plastic. Or you can have some very nice and beautiful woodwork. Altius, Mark Shepard over there in West Yellowstone makes some just absolute beautiful stocks, but they can run the gambit from wood through modern materials. Venue change. On the left is an older venue. As you can see, things are a little bit basic, and that's what you're going to find at some of your local races, which doesn't matter as long as everybody's safe, fair, and fun. It makes for a good competition. But you can see on the right a more national venue, international venue that is being televised. And make no mistake about it, television at the IBU level drives everything. It's all about the money. Okay, safety. Biathlon competitions and training include firearms. It demands absolute focus and alertness on the part of athletes, coaches, and officials to ensure safety. As I mentioned before, we cannot afford to have any type of safety issues when it comes to firearms, as it could potentially damage or cancel this sport altogether. Safety is everyone's concern. If you see something, say something. If it doesn't look right, bring it to somebody's attention. If it's grossly dangerous, make sure you shut it down immediately. Okay, biathlon safety rules. Open bolt policy. IBU no longer has an open bolt policy. They used to have one to where if the rifle was on the rack, it had to be open. The bolt had to be open at any time unless it was on the athlete's back while they were skiing or moving, or while they were on the range getting ready to shoot or shooting. IBU no longer enforces that open bolt policy on the rack. However, if it is in a case being carried, it must be open. There are a lot of ranges that still enforce that open bolt policy, so check with your chief of range or your range master, wherever you're at, to find out what their open bolt policy is. Now, removal of the rifle from the back only after coming to a complete stop at the firing point. They can't take the rifle off as they're skiing into the range. They have to actually come to the mat, come to a complete stop if they're and have their poles dropped before they can take that rifle off. Now, the poles can be in the falling. They don't have to be touching the ground, but they cannot be in control of the athlete's hands while they pull that rifle off. The rifle must always be pointed up unless it is pointed downrange on the range. It can't be played around with. It's just basic rifle safety. Okay, removal of clips and extra ammo at the finish line. We don't necessarily do all of this at local races, but at the IBU level, they will pull the actual clips and the extra ammo off the rifle and take it out of the clips, put the clips back, and maintain control of that ammo and either give it to the coach or to the athlete. We don't rarely do that, but we will check at the end of the race to ensure that there are no rounds left in the rifle. Now, the rifle carrying case and rifle cover needs to be on the rifle as it's being transported. If it's not on the range, not being utilized in a competition or training. And that the rifle bags now require a clear window so you can see that the bolt is maintained open. This is just to ensure we don't have a live round in there and somebody accidentally gets hurt. Okay, now this will bring on lesson 2, your competition classes and your different types of competition. This is about halfway through level 1, so if you would like to take a break, feel free to pause, take a break, and then resume the lesson as you can. Okay, classes and types of competition. Classes of competitors are based off eligibility, age, gender, and obligations. Types and specifications of competitions. These are what we're going to be going over. And your Chapter 3, Event and Competition Rules, starting on page 3-04. Now, these rules can be found on that biathlonworld.com. There is a link. I can't remember exactly how to get to it because it's very obscure and not real intuitive. Best way to do it is to just go to Google and Google IBU regulation download. Usually the first one hit that comes up will take you right to it to where you can download all the different sections of the IBU rules and regulations. 3 and 4 are the two primary ones we'll be dealing with as officials. Okay, your classes of competitors. For IBU, they have men and women, also called senior men and women, your junior men and women aged 19 to 21, youth men and women aged 15 to 18. They don't recognize the masters. That's by USBA, if you'll see here. We recognize senior boys and girls aged 15 to 16, junior boys and girls 13 to 14, and masters men and women 30 to whatever. And then depending on the competition, they may break up the masters into 10-year groups, 5-year groups, 15-year groups, whatever that competition is trying to do to get the most to whatever classes of competition or competitors they want. Okay, classes of competitors for men and women. Male and female competitors who were born in 2000 or earlier will be classified as men or women respectively, also called senior men and women, for the 2022-2023 season starting on 1 November. They may only start men or women's competition according to their gender. Okay, this is going to get into some heavy math here, but the easiest way to remember it, if you go back to that other slide, that 19 to 21, what is that age, if they fall in that age group by December 31st, and their birthday can be on December 31st, whatever that age is, whatever age you are at December 31st is what you will be for the season. If you turn 21 on January 1st, you were still 20 on December 31st, so you can still race in the junior category. And really, this is just for you to be aware of. This is more for race organizers and race secretary. Really needs to keep track of this to keep your classes, but everybody needs to understand what they are. Okay, for your junior men and women, male and female competitors who were born from 2001 to 2003 will be classed as junior men and junior women respectively for the 2022 22-23 season starting on November 1st. They may only start in juniors, men's, and junior women's competition according to their general. Separate competitions shall be organized for them. However, junior men will be able to participate in men and junior women and women's competition. Basically, what that means is they can race up. If you're a junior, you can race into the men's category or the senior men's category, same thing. Same thing with women. They can race up a class. You just can't go back. If you start an event, you have to stay in that category, whatever you chose to do it, but you can race up a level. Okay, this is for youth men and women. They're born between 2004 and 2007 for the 2022-2023 season. They will be permitted to take part in men's and junior men's competitions, and youth women will be permitted to take part in women's and junior women's competition. However, at an event, they may only start in only one and the same class of competitor in the individual sprint pursuit competitions. Basically, if they choose to race up for the sprint, they have to stay with that through the pursuit. Same thing with the juniors racing up also. Race up a level, they can't come back. You can't race down either. So a junior can't race as a youth. They have to race at least their age or up one. Hopefully that makes sense and not too confusing. Moreover, youth athletes may only participate in one relay competition at Youth Junior World Championships. They can't do multiples. Okay, different types of IBU competitions. The individual, the sprint, the pursuit, the mass start, and the individual and mass start have some new, quote unquote new, competitions. Have been around for a couple of years, but they're still a little bit unknown. We'll go over those here in a minute. The relay, a mixed relay, single mixed relay, and the super sprint. Those are the different types of competitions you would see at your typical USBA or IBU race. Okay, your classes of competitors for men are your course length at the next column, your standard start types and intervals, your ski loops, shooting sequence, and penalty. This is taken right out of the rule book. I'm going to kind of go over this a little bit. There's another couple ones. We're not going to go over every line, but just to kind of familiarize yourself with it. If you will take a look, whoops, I went back. Go back one. Okay, right here is your 20K individual. This is telling you how far the race is. So it's 20K. This is the race. It's an individual race. Now they also have the 15K individual. Your standard start types. This is a single start, 30-second or 1-minute intervals, whichever choice the competition wants to do. They will ski 5 loops. This is the shooting sequence: prone, standing, prone, standing. 1-minute penalty or 45-second penalty for the short individual, which is the 15K. Now to just go over the 10K sprint, still under the men, it is a single start, 30-second or 1-minute interval. They will ski 3 loops with a shooting sequence of prone, standing, and what this means is you will ski a loop, shoot prone, ski a loop, shoot standing, ski a loop to finish. 5, ski a loop, shoot prone, ski a loop, shoot standing, ski a loop, shoot prone, ski a loop, shoot standing, ski a loop, and finish. Now, whereas the individual had a time penalty, the sprint actually has a 150-meter penalty loop they have to ski for every missed shot. There are a few different types of starts. These are single starts. There's the pursuit start, 12.5K pursuit, 5 laps, prone, prone, standing, standing, which is different than the individual, and they also have to ski the 150-meter penalty loop for every missed shot. Now, the relay is a simultaneous start and tag out. Basically, everybody starts together. Pursuit, you will start based off your finish in either the sprint or the individual, whichever one they use to determine how you start in the pursuit. And there's multiple ways to do it. I'm not really going to go over that too much right now. You have your 3K super sprint qualification, racing to see if you can get into the final. It is a single start, whereas the 5K is a simultaneous. 15K, which you really can't see on the screen, is a simultaneous start, which is a mass start basically. Okay, now this is your men and women. This is a mixed relay, men and women together. 2 6 kilometers for women, 2 7.5 kilometer races for men. Mixed relay, simultaneous, and tags. That means everybody starts together and then they tag them out. It can go woman, woman, man, man, or man, man, woman, woman to do the loops. Doesn't matter. Everybody will ski 3 loops with a sequence of ski, prone, ski, shoot, or standing ski finish. 150-meter loop. Now, the biggest issue with this one and the single mixed relay is there are 3 extra rounds per chute. That means the athlete has to come in. They have 8 rounds, only 5 in the magazine. They have to hand load the other 3. So they cannot leave the range until they have fired all 8 rounds or all 5 targets are down, whichever comes first. If there are any targets that are still up after 8 rounds, they have to ski that 150-meter penalty loop for each missed shot. Okay, women, laid out the same way as the men. As you can see, different distances, but the same sequence of shooting and skiing loops. Just kind of read through this. Feel free to look through chapter 3 of the IBU rules goes at all of this into detail with men, women, junior men, junior women, youth men, youth women. Not going to really go over all of them. Kind of got hopefully the idea from the men and it wasn't too confusing. Okay, the new quote unquote competitions for men and women. They've been around for a while, but they're a little bit unknown. The 15 kilometer and the 12.5 kilometer short individual. The 15 is for the men, the 12.5 is for the women. Instead of a minute penalty, it's 45-second penalty for missed shot. It's used to hold the individual race if weather or snow is an issue for the competition. Also could be used for time for television, but most of the time it's based off of weather or snow conditions if you can't get the full race in. It is the same shooting sequence of prone standing, prone standing. The other one is the 15K or 12K, same distance as the regular mass start, but it has 60 athletes, not 30. And this is where it gets a little confusing. You will ski 6 loops instead of 5. The first loop, groups 1 through 30, will ski a loop, come in and shoot on their bib, while the second group, 31 through 60, will ski a second loop, then they will come in and shoot. The first group, after they shoot, will have to ski 2 more loops before they come in for their second shoot. Basically, this is designed to get everybody onto the range without clogging it up too much. The first 30 will come in and shoot on their bib number. The second will come in after a second loop and shoot 31 through 60, and basically on bib number 31 being 0.1, 60 being 0.30, coming in that way. After that, they're all shot in the race order. You'll come in, you'll be allocated first in, first to the right. Men will ski 6 of the 2.5K. Women will ski 6 of the 2K. Now, this will start not getting clogged up because the racers will stretch out, and in IBU they have the lap rule. If you get lapped, you get pulled, so you will no longer be racing. Not usually enforced at local club levels, but most of them usually don't do the mass starts or the mass 60s, but they could do it and decide, and they can modify the rules to do a lap or not lap rule if they want to make it easier to run the race. Okay, your IBU types of competition for junior men, junior women. Your 15K individual for the junior men, 10K for the sprint, 12.5K for pursuit, 12.5K mass start, 12K mass start 60, and 4x7 relay or 7.5 super sprint with the 4.5 super sprint qualification. Junior women, 12.5K individual, 7.5 sprint, 10 pursuit, 10 mass, 9K mass start 60, 3x6 relay, and that's the difference right there for junior men and women. Women only have to have 3 for their relay, men have to have 4. And then a 7.5K super sprint, 4.5K sprint, super sprint qualification. Okay, that pretty much concludes level 1. Hopefully it's gone through and made some sense to kind of give you a basic understanding of biathlon and what the types of competitions there are. As a volunteer, you can be asked to work in the start and finish to where your chiefs will have more knowledge and they will explain to you what they want done. It's a little bit more in depth than we want to get to in level 1. And we encourage you to volunteer. If you haven't signed up to help, mostly this course was set up to help with U.S. Nationals at Casper, but hopefully you'll volunteer to help that, if not at another local race. But talk with your chiefs and learn more. And if you want to reach out to get that next level of level 2, make sure you reach out to the United States Biathlon Association. You can find them by Googling them on the web and sign up for our level 2 course. Normally, like I said, we teach level 1 and 2 together, and if you've already done this one, we can excuse you for the level 1 portion, or you can get us a good refresher and move into level 2. Highly encourage you to do it, and What I should have done at the beginning of this, I definitely want to say thank you for willing to spend your time helping to make these races a success. The future of the sport lies in the officials as well as the coaches. We need to be there for the athletes, the kids, and everybody else coming up to keep this sport alive. So thank you. Hopefully we'll see you at Soldier Hollow in 2024 for the IBU World Cup. Please feel free to reach out and volunteer for that through the Soldier Hollow's website or through the United States Biathlon Association. Anyway, thank you for watching this presentation.